She had cleaned his office every day for years, quiet, invisible, overlooked. No one ever asked her name. No one ever imagined she carried a past stronger than any of them. But when the boss announced a challenge no one expected, something meant to embarrass, something meant to prove who was worthy, she stepped forward. And in that single moment, the room changed. Eyes widened, whispers stopped. The man who thought he knew his staff suddenly saw a truth he'd spent his whole life ignoring. What hidden strength was he about to witness? And why did it shake him more than he could ever admit? Carolyn Brooks had worked in that company for almost a decade. Every morning she arrived before the lights came on, sweeping floors and wiping desks long before the executives stepped out of their luxury cars. She moved quietly, almost silently, blending into the background of a world that never looked her way. To most people, she was just the cleaning lady, but to her two children waiting at home, she was everything: strength, love, and the only source of stability they had. Carolyn never complained. She knew what people whispered. She heard the comments they thought she couldn't hear. She felt the stares that lingered on her skin a little too long, filled with judgment she didn't deserve. Still, she kept her head high. Her job paid the bills, and that was enough. But one morning, things felt different. The company was buzzing with excitement. The CEO, known for his arrogance and dramatic stunts, had announced a ridiculous challenge involving a newly purchased helicopter parked right outside the building. Most employees laughed, assuming it was another one of his ego-driven games. Carolyn didn't pay much attention at first. She stayed focused on her tasks, careful not to get in anyone's way, but the tension in the air tugged at her. Something was coming, something she couldn't name but could feel building around her. And in a workplace where she was usually invisible, she was about to be pulled into the center of a moment no one, especially the CEO, was prepared for. Carolyn was wiping down the glass railing on the second floor when she heard the CEO's voice booming through the lobby. His tone, sharp, impatient, instantly made the staff stiffen. He paced in circles around the helicopter he dragged onto company property, barking orders at his assistants. Apparently, he was live-streaming some stunt to impress investors. Something about unlocking a secret flight challenge that no one cared about but everyone pretended to admire. Employees gathered around him, forced smiles glued to their faces. Carolyn kept her distance. She knew better than to get involved with anything that drew attention. But as she turned to leave, she heard it her name. "Carolyn, hey, cleaning lady." She froze, every muscle in her body tightened. The CEO pointed straight at her. "You, come here." The room went silent. It wasn't a request, it was a command. Carolyn stepped forward slowly, aware of dozens of eyes watching her, not with concern, not with respect. With that familiar mix of amusement and condescension she had felt her whole life. The CEO smirked. "I need someone to test the weight sensors on the helicopter ramp. Don't worry, it's safe and you're perfect for it." Perfect. The word stung more than she expected. She knew what he meant, expendable. Carolyn hesitated. "Sir, I don't think I'm supposed to touch." "Oh, relax," he snapped. "If anything breaks, it's not like it'll matter. Just do as you're told." A few employees chuckled under their breaths. Someone pulled out their phone, already recording. Carolyn swallowed the lump forming in her throat. She took a step toward the helicopter. The metal ramp creaked beneath her feet. The CEO rolled his eyes dramatically. "See? We're fine. Now go all the way up. Walk slowly. I want the livestream audience to see this." Her heart pounded. She felt humiliated, exposed, like the entire world was watching her struggle up a ramp that wasn't meant for her. She wasn't a part of this show, she was the joke. Halfway up, the ramp suddenly jerked. Gasps filled the lobby. Someone shouted, "It's slipping!" Carolyn staggered, grabbing the side rail to keep from falling. Panic shot through her chest. The CEO didn't move. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he yelled at the engineers off camera, "Why is she breaking it? I told you this thing can carry real weight, real weight." Her hands trembled. Employees exchanged uncomfortable looks. Some stopped recording. Others kept filming, hoping for more content. Carolyn felt her breath catch. She looked down 10 feet below her. The ground seemed impossibly far. "The ramp isn't stable," she cried. But instead of helping, the CEO snapped, "Then hurry up and get off. You're embarrassing yourself." She froze at the top of the ramp, tears stinging her eyes, not from fear of falling, but from the cruelty wrapped in every word he threw at her. And then a voice from the back of the crowd cut through the tension like a knife. "Stop, right now." Every head turned. Caroline's heart stopped, because the person walking forward wasn't an employee. And the CEO's face went pale the moment he recognized him. Caroline's breath shook as the crowd parted, and the man stepping forward didn't work there, didn't belong there. He wore a dark suit, calm but commanding, the kind of presence that made everyone instinctively step back. The CEO's voice cracked. What are you doing here?" The stranger ignored him. His eyes locked onto Caroline, still trembling at the top of the unstable ramp. "Ma'am," he said, voice steady, "don't move. I've got you." He reached for the emergency lever the CEO claimed didn't. T-Exist pulled it, and the helicopter lock snapped into place with a loud metallic clang. The ramp stabilized instantly. Gasps echoed through the lobby. Caroline let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding, but the relief didn't last long. Because in the next moment, the stranger turned toward the CEO, and the entire energy in the room changed. "You forced her to climb an unsafe aircraft," he said, voice low. "For entertainment. For humiliation," the CEO scoffed, trying to regain control. "Hey, relax, it was just a test. She's a cleaner, she should be grateful I even." "Finish that sentence," the man warned. Phones went back up this time, not to mock Caroline, but to document the CEO's meltdown. The CEO stepped forward, face red. "Look, you don't get to walk in here and—" "I do." The stranger pulled out a badge. The room fell silent. Caroline's knees weakened. It wasn't security. It wasn't police. It wasn't even a company executive. It was the owner's brother, the man whose name sat on every building across the city. And he wasn't smiling. "You've been reported before," he said calmly. "Racial targeting, abuse of authority, endangering staff." His eyes hardened. "Today you crossed the line," the CEO's voice stuttered. I didn't mean she was— this isn't— Save it. You're done." Then he looked back at Caroline. His expression softened just a little. "Ma'am, please come down. You're safe now." Her legs shook as she began to descend, the entire lobby watching, not with mockery, not with indifference, but with shame. But as she reached the last step, the CEO lunged. A gasp ripped through the room, and in that split second, everything changed again. The moment the CEO lunged, the owner's brother stepped between them, shielding Caroline with a force and certainty that silenced the entire room. Security rushed in not for her, but for the man who had tormented her. Within minutes, the CEO was escorted out, shouting excuses no one believed anymore. And for the first time all day, Caroline stood on solid ground, literally and emotionally. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The cameras caught everything: the humiliation, the danger, the cruelty she endured simply because someone believed her life was worth less. By the next morning, the footage had spread across the city. People weren't talking about the CEO's power. They were talking about Caroline's courage. The company issued a public apology. Policies were rewritten. Training programs were launched. But even with all the noise, Caroline understood something deeper. Change on paper doesn't erase wounds. It doesn't erase the fear she felt on that ramp or the years of being overlooked, dismissed, underestimated because of the color of her skin. Still, she showed up to work the next day. Not because she had to, but because she refused to let anyone decide her worth for her. She walked through the same lobby where she was once mocked, and this time people moved aside out of respect, not pity. The owner's brother approached her quietly and thanked her for her strength. But the truth was, millions of people just like her show that same strength every day, often unnoticed, often unprotected. Her story wasn't the loudest, it wasn't the biggest, but it was real. And it revealed something this world still struggles to accept. Racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hides in jokes, in tests, in power disguised as privilege. So the question remains, how many more stories like Caroline S. will it take before we stop pretending this isn't happening? And when the next person is pushed to the edge, will the world finally stand beside them?